We are recording now. I apologize that I had to go back and do that. Okay, so now we're on Google Drive, and um, first of all, yours probably, I'm guessing, looks like this. If you've not used Google Drive in the past, you probably haven't tried the new Google Drive yet. So yours is, this is the old platform, and it just has all of your files listed, and you've got this menu over here on the side, and then right here you've got try the new Google Drive. Now I'm going to show you everything today in the new version of Drive because it's only a matter of time before this old version goes away and it's not even an option for you to use it anymore. So I want to make sure that the things I'm showing you, I show you in the new version. So when you go to Google Drive, and if you're clicking along with me right now, you'll want to make sure that you click on this button that says take me to the new drive, and then it'll look the same as what I'm going to show you today. Most of the features and how to do things is really exactly the same. It just looks slightly different, and that's something that can throw people for a loop if they're not used to it. So this is the new version of Drive and what it looks like. So the first thing I want to do is kind of give you an overview of what's available, and then we'll kind of walk through how to create something, how to share it with your students, how to have your students share something with you, all those different kinds of things. And of course, the two of you are several grade levels apart in terms of your students, so I may need to kind of talk to you a little bit individually about, you know, how this might work out in your classroom or not. Okay, so first the overview. Google Drive offers several applications. We're only going to talk about kind of the three big ones today. There's really quite a few more that you can get into if you want to keep going with it, but we'll talk about the basics ones here. And if I click on this new button, it kind of shows you some of the options. You've got Google Docs, Google Sheets, and Google Slides. And these are all comparable programs to things that you're very familiar with. Like Google Docs is very much like Microsoft Word. It doesn't quite have all of the features and bells and whistles that Microsoft Word has, but it probably can do absolutely everything that either one of you would ever do with Microsoft Word. The same thing here with Google Sheets. That's basically Google's version of Excel. Or if you're on a Mac, it would be Numbers. So it's a spreadsheet program. Again, it has about 80–90% of the features that you can do with the Microsoft or Apple products, versions of those products, you can do with Google Sheets. And then you have Google Slides, which would be the version of PowerPoint, or if you're using a Mac, it would be Keynote. So this is where you can make like presentation slides. So these are the three that we're going to talk about today. In terms of some of the features that we're going to show you, they're the same in all three. So we'll spend quite a bit of time on Google Docs, and then I'll just briefly show you Sheets and Slides to show you how those different programs have some other features in them. If I click down here on more, you'll see that there's a few more that I've already added that I use. Google Forms is another one that some of you might be interested in because it does let you create, you've seen me use them. In fact, you guys have used them with me sometimes when I've given surveys or I've asked you to register for something. Basically, it's a form where you fill in different fields, or you have check boxes that you can choose, or things like that. So if you want to know more about Google Forms, we can talk about that as well. These other three are ones that I have added, and they're probably not going to show up when you go to Google Drive. But those are all there, and they're just different features. They're very, very specific, so probably not things that any of you might be interested in, at least not right now. I see that Janice Cole has joined us, so welcome, Janice. I hope that you can hear me okay, and I am going to review at the end here, and don't let me forget to do that how we got to Google Drive to begin with, so because that's the one thing that you've kind of missed here, so I want to make sure you know how to do that. Okay, so we're going to talk quickly about the advantages and disadvantages. If we have, you know, Microsoft versions of these three things, why would we use Google Drive? So let's talk about that for just a second. One of the advantages, probably the biggest advantage to using Google versions of these products, is that they're online, which means you can access them from any place you can get to the internet. It could be through a phone, through a tablet, through someone else's computer, through the computer at the public library. If you can get to the internet, you can get to your files. If you're using Microsoft Word off of a PC, you can only get to that file on that PC. And so this is a way of making your documents more accessible. So that's one reason, one advantage. Another advantage is the sharing and collaboration features that Google offers that you don't have anything even close to that in the Microsoft or Apple versions of these programs. And I'll show you what I mean by that in just a minute, but you've probably seen us do it in professional development where multiple people can be in the same document editing the same document at the same time. And that is huge. That's a really nice advantage. Now, in terms of disadvantages, there are a few of those as well. To me, they're a little bit, minor, but one disadvantage with things that are online is internet reliability. If the internet is slow or if a server goes down, you would not be able to access that. Whereas if you had Microsoft Office on your computer, you wouldn't have to rely on the internet in order to access it. So it's a give and take there. The other possible disadvantage is that it doesn't have every single feature. So if you're wanting to get into some really complex things with a spreadsheet program, you might need to use Excel instead of Google Sheets. So there are a few pros and cons. Okay, so let's go ahead and start creating a new document and just walking through that process. So I'm going to start by creating a new Google Doc. So when I click on that, you'll see that it's going to look just like a word processing document. You've got all of the typical features you would have up here, like being able to change headings, different types of fonts. You don't have as many font choices as you would probably have if you were using a real a standalone program, but you do have quite a few and probably enough for anything that you would want to be doing. You've got sizes, you've got different alignments, bullets, numbers, quite a few different choices of things to do. You can insert tables. Like I said, most of the features that you would have in Microsoft Word are going to be available here. So I've created this new document. If I want to change the name of it, which actually it's going to require you to do at some point, I just click on here where it says Untitled Document. That brings up a box for me to rename this. So I'm going to just name this Opportunity Example Document. Oh, it'd be nice if I could type correctly. And then I'm going to click OK. So now that has changed the name of my document up here. Okay, so I can type in here. And I want to just point out at the top of my screen here, you see where it says saving, and now it says all changes saved in Drive. This is one of my favorite things about Google products as well, is that it saves all of your changes automatically and very, very, very often. So let me just show you. I'm going to keep typing. You see how it says saving up there, and now they're saved. So pretty much every time I do something, it's going to save it, and I don't have to worry about, it crashes and I've lost, the last 2 hours of work that I've done because I forgot to click a save button. So that is a really nice feature that it has. All right, so I've created this document, and now I want to talk a little bit about how I would share this, because this is the big beauty of using Google Docs. So right up here at the top, there's a little blue button that says Share. And right now, if I hover over it, it says that it's private only to me, because I haven't shared this with anyone else at this point. But if I click that button, it's going to give me the option to share this with others. And so I can enter people's names or email addresses. So because all of you are in the same Google organization that I am, our Southwest Parke organization, if I start typing one of your names, it'll just pop you right up with your email address, and I can just click on it, and this is going to get shared with you. I can also start typing an email address instead, so I could start typing Case, and there's Betsy. She's popped up too. You can share with people outside of your organization. Let me think of how I could do that. I'll share this with my home email address, which apparently I have done before because that popped up as well. But if I've never used it, I can just completely type in that email address and put that in as well. And you see that there's a different icon. Like this shows a person because it's part of my organization, but this shows an email because it's outside of my organization. So I can just do that. Let's see, we're missing Leanne, so I'll go ahead and share this with you as well. I realize that you guys are probably not clicking along with me as you're watching and listening, but you'll be able to use this document and kind of explore it further later on. Okay, so I've shared this with all of you, and then right over here you see that it says that you would be able to edit this as well. I have some different options here. I can make it so that you can edit it, but I can also make it so that you can only comment on it. You can't change my actual text, but you could make comments out here in the margin. Or I can make it so that all you can do is read it, that you can view it, but you can't make any changes to it. So you have all those different options that you can have. And then you can click send. Okay, so now it says, it's asking me if I'm sure because I have chosen to send this to somebody who is outside of my organization. And so it's just asking me to confirm that. Okay, so now it's been shared with the 4 of you and you would be able to access that. And I'll show you how we would go about accessing something that's been shared with us here in a little while. I want to go back here to that share button because I want to show you some other things that are available. Right here it says get a shareable link. If I click on that, it's going to give me the link that I can share so I don't have to type in email addresses. I mean, I'm sure your very first thought was, oh my goodness, so every time I want to share a document, I have to type in every student's Google email address. No, you don't. You could, but there are definitely shortcuts. So if I click on this Get Shareable Link, it'll say people at Southwest Parke can view if they have this link. And so then I would just send this link to my students, like posting it in my big campus. Now it's a big long link, so you're not going to want them to have to type it in, but you could post it on my big campus and then they'll be able to access this document as well. If anybody else had a copy of that link, they would be able to access it even if they're not a student in your class, but there's really no way for them to get that link unless you share it with them. So that will work, and you can just click copy link, it puts it on your clipboard, and then you can paste it into My Big Campus as an announcement or attach it to an assignment or whatever you're doing in My Big Campus. You can paste that link in there for them to be able to access. Right now it's set to view only, but again, you can change it to them being able to edit. Now, because it's still limiting it to people within Southwest Parke, they will have to sign in once they follow that link. So if you're sharing this document with your students and you paste that link in My Big Campus, when they click the link, it's going to give them a login for Google. So let's stop for a minute to talk about student Google accounts. Students do have Google accounts, and not very many people are using them yet, but it's starting to spread and to grow. I'm pretty sure most of the 7 through 12 students have their accounts are in and they're starting to use them in more and more classes, so your students may already be very familiar with that. If they've never logged into their Google account, it's just their username, the same one that they would use for their school, and then the whole thing that you would have at the end of your email address, like at swpark.k12.in.us. Their password is the word password, and then it will force them to change it and create a new password the first time they log in. If you had any issues with students being able to get into their school Google account, you would want to direct those to Jill. She is the Google administrator, and I don't have access to go in and help with that, like resetting passwords and any problems there are with accounts. So you would need to go through Jill to get any issues along those lines solved. So let me check Betsy's question here. Could I share it with my second grade group like the bundles? Yes, you could put the link into a bundle. You could do that. Or just like you share your bundles, like you post an announcement, I think is probably what you do to share your bundles with your class. You could post an announcement and just paste the link right there in the announcement, and that would share this document with them. You would probably, though, Betsy, I would recommend for you with second graders to simplify things just a little bit. Right here, it says people at Southwest Parke. We can eliminate this part. So I'm going to go down here where it says advanced. It's kind of hidden, but it's going to give me even some more options. So I'm going to click on the advanced, and let's see. Right here where it says people at Southwest Parke, again, same thing. If I click change, I can make it so it's anyone with the link, and then they wouldn't have to actually sign in. See how it says right here, no sign in required? And Janice and Leanne, that might be an option that you like as well. The only thing is you can't see who's typing what. They show up as anonymous. So that's the disadvantage. If you're forcing them to sign into their Google account, then it'll show who's typing what. And you're probably going to want that. But Betsy, for you, just to keep things even easier, that might be something that you would like to choose, that anyone with the link can get to it and they don't have to sign in. Okay, so this part that we're talking about right here is really the hardest aspect of all of this. Everything else is pretty straightforward and simple, so if you're having questions pop in your head, please type them in the chat window so that we can address this part. And it's really just a matter of kind of carefully reading what all of your options are, because you have quite a few options. You can also make it public on the web, which means that somebody could put in, if they put in just the right Google search, they could find it. It's just out there. So you probably want to make it so that they would need to have the link in order to get to it. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and save those settings. And you guys are still listed here. You can also change these things individually. Like you're listed here because I put your email addresses in, and that would allow me to individually say, okay, Janice, you can edit, but Betsy, you can only view. Which might be something you need to be able to do with certain students. Maybe that's a feature that you need to do. So then I would save that setting. Actually, let me change that because that's not very nice to Betsy. Okay, so the share settings. I'm going to just pause for a second and give you a chance to type a question in about that. Again, we got there by clicking on this share version. And anytime you want to check on your settings, you can hover over that. So you see now it's set so that anyone with the link can access, no sign-in required. And then I just get that link. Again, if I click on that, I can get the shareable link, and that just put it on my clipboard for me. So all I got to do is go in and paste it into a My Big Campus announcement now. Okay. It looks like you guys are following along. Okay. If you think of questions, though, as I go, feel free to pop them in there. Oh, Leanne's typing. Let's see. I like that it lets me know when somebody's typing, because then I know I don't want to move on maybe quite yet. Yes, the students, technically, now we haven't enabled their actual Gmail yet. I don't know if that's something that's coming or not. It gets into a whole bunch of complicated stuff that Jill could tell you more about, but we haven't actually enabled their email, but they have an email address and that they would use to sign into their Google account. I don't know if that's making sense, but it would be the same, like say, I'll just take my daughter Anna as an example. Her username is Porter A. I'm just typing this in here for you to see it. It's Porter A, and then it would be the same thing that you have at the end of yours. So it would just be their student username and then the ending that we have on our email account. That's what they would use to sign in to Google. So if I just sign out real quick, just so I can show you, if you had it so that they had to sign in, when they clicked your link to your Google Doc, it would give them, well, it wouldn't look quite like, it would look basically like this. It would give them a username and a password box, and then they would have to put that email address in and that password, and then it would take them to that Google Doc. Um, like I said, I don't think we're quite ready. Let me get back to where I was. We're not quite ready to turn on student email for a number of different reasons, but that is probably something that is coming in the pretty near future. Okay. Okay, so we just did a Google Doc. Let's just go through sheets and slides as well. We've only got a few minutes left, so I'll hit these somewhat quickly. But if I go to New Sheet, this is just a classic looking spreadsheet. If you're familiar with Excel or Apple's numbers program, it's the same sort of thing. You have cells and columns, and you can sort and move them around, and all those things that you can do with a spreadsheet. You can change colors and fonts and all of that, put in formulas like averages or sums, anything like that. So same thing, we have a share button up here, and right now it's private only to me. Oh, it's telling me that I haven't named this yet. So let me do that. Okay, and then again, I can get a shareable link, and if I click that, it's going to tell me that anybody with Southwest Parke can view it. I can make it so they can edit it, and then I can just copy this link to my clipboard. That's probably the simplest way. If you only want to share it with a few students, you could still do it this way and just give a few students that link, or you could enter their address here. And then it would only share it with the students that you were wanting to share that with. Okay. Let me go back to Drive and click on New and Slides. This is Google's version of PowerPoint. So you've got, title. This is kind of just our default slide. We can choose different themes. So I can pick one of these and then click OK, and it will change the theme of my slideshow here, and you've just got all the typical features. So you can do a new slide. There are some transitions. You just don't quite have as many, again, bells and whistles. You don't have as many transition options. You don't have as many themes to choose from. You don't have quite so many like animation. In fact, you might not have any animations you can do within the slide like you do on PowerPoint. But if you're just looking for a simple presentation tool, you want your students to create a simple presentation, this is definitely something that could work for you with that. Again, it's the exact same process. You can just click on the share and then put the students, put it in there so that you can share that link with them and whether or not they can view it. So it all looks exactly the same as what I just showed you with the docs and with the sheets. Lost my train of thought. There was something else I was just about to mention. Oh, I wanted to go back here and then show you in terms of your students. You're sharing that link with them and they can follow that link and get to that particular document. But if they go to Google and sign in with their Google account, they'll go to Drive and it'll look just like this, and they can go to Incoming and they will see there anything that you have shared with them. So, if you're getting on so that you're doing this on a regular basis and they want to go back to something you shared with them a week ago, rather than going to My Big Campus and clicking on that, finding that link again and clicking on it, they could just go straight to Google and click on Incoming, and they'll see everything listed here that you have shared with them. It'll also tell you, say, who shared it with them. So you can see all the things that people have shared with me. And they're all different things. We've got, Google Docs here and Google Sheets. There's even a PDF that someone has shared with me. So let me show you that real quick too. If I click on New, I do have the option to upload a folder, or I can create a folder or upload a file or upload an entire folder. So if you had a PDF that you wanted to share with students and you were starting to use Google a lot and they were used to signing into their Google account, you could upload that PDF and then share it with the students just like we just shared those documents, and they'd be able to get to it from there as well. Okay, so obviously, I've gone over a lot of stuff here pretty quickly. There is a lot to Google Drive, and we've really just barely scratched the surface. of that as well. I do want to point out that it goes both ways. What I just showed you was from the perspective of you creating a document and then sharing it so that your students could access it and type into that document. But you could have it go the other direction as well. You could have students just go to drive.google.com and sign into their Google account, and they could click on Create or New and Google Docs. They create a document and then they share it with you. This is probably what you'd want to do if you were having the students maybe write an essay. And so every student has got a separate essay and they're not really collaborating with each other, but they all need to share it with you so that you can put your comments in and grade it and send it back to them, and they can see what you've included in there. So you could have them create this document and then go to share and just type in, oh yeah, name the document, and just type in your email address and make sure they give you editing rights so that you can type in your comments. So that would be a huge advantage for you to be able to do if you weren't wanting them to collaborate on something. Or let's say you had them working on something in small groups. Perhaps you could have like a group leader who creates the document and then shares it with just you and the other people that they're supposed to be collaborating with. Again, if you were having students do that, in order to find the documents that they've shared with you, you would want to go to incoming. Okay, let me recap just a couple things because we're almost out of time. Remember when we first signed on, I went to the new drive, so I'm leaving the new drive now. This is the old version of Drive, and it's probably what you will see when you go to Drive if you haven't been there and already switched over to the new one. I do recommend that you click on this button to take me to the new Drive. Like I said, this old version will eventually go away, and so you want, if you're learning this for the first time, you want to learn it with the new version so that you don't have to kind of relearn things when they cut the cord on the old one. But I did want to point out that if you're in the old version, it's not called incoming, it's called shared with me, which I actually think makes a little more sense for somebody who's new to this, but in the new drive, that same folder is called incoming, so it's just a difference in terminology. I also want to back up, like I said, and recap how you actually get to Google Drive. There's two ways. If you're in your email, so you're already signed into your Google account, right up here at the top, there are these little boxes. If I click on that, I've got quite a few different options, but one of them is Drive. So you can click that and it'll take you to where we just were. I'm going to go back to the new Drive so I don't forget to do that. Another option that you have is to type in just this part of this address is all you really need, drive.google.com, and that will get you to Drive as well. Again, Drive is just a collection of all of those different things, docs, sheets, and slides, as well as some other things that you can add on also. Okay, are there any other questions that you have or anything that you would like to possibly dive more deeply into? We're out of time for today, but I'm wide open in terms of topics for opportunity. So we didn't talk about Google Forms at all. If that's something that you think you might use in your classroom, we could certainly set an opportunity session for that. Or if there's anything I showed today that you really want to go further into, go ahead and type that in the chat window and let me know, or you can click on the Request a Topic for Opportunity link that's in your bottom right corner, and you can fill that out if you'd like for us to schedule something to go further on anything that you saw today or any questions that you have. Also, if there is a time that you think you might want to try this for the first time with your students and you would like for me to be present, you know, the first time you try something like this, it's usually a little bit hairy, and it's kind of nice to have somebody else in the room to run around and answer questions and troubleshoot with students. And I would be happy to be there and support you with that if you wanted to try something like this with your students. So just send me an email or post in the chat window right now if you you know, decide at some point in time that you want me to find a time to come and work with you and be in your classroom when you try things out with your students. Okay? Otherwise, I think we're about done for today. I appreciate you guys joining very much, and hopefully you got something beneficial out of our session. We also have Ignite sessions that I've just scheduled with the principals that'll be coming up here in February. We did one last semester, and everybody seemed to really enjoy that. So we're going to have another Ignite session at each school in February, and I will be offering Google Drive as what I'm going to present during that time. So if you want to, find out more and have a chance to kind of try things out during a session where I can be there to answer your questions, it's a little bit better format than the webinar. So just know that that's coming up. And as always, I can certainly come and visit you on a prep hour or anything like that to kind of help you get started with this. Okay, I can see that Janice is typing. I will stay on the line until all of you have signed off of it. So if you have questions, I have lots of time left, so feel free to stick around and type in. But if your questions have been answered, we're done with our presentation, and I appreciate you joining us. Yes, Janice, I think that is a great idea. Yeah, okay, so yeah, you could have them posting their art into slides. One of the nice things, and I didn't really show this because it's kind of one of the more maybe advanced features a little bit. Let me go back here to a presentation. Let me just click a theme here. I want to show you how they can comment if you're not familiar with that. So over here, there's this comments area, and you can add a comment to a slide. So that might be a really nice feature too, because maybe students could make slides of their artwork, and then you can comment them, or they can share them with others, and others can comment on them. So that's where you might use the share option, where you're allowing people to comment but not to edit the actual slideshow itself. Might be something that you could do for those final exams and that portfolio option. So I think that would be good, and I'd love to work with you on that and help you figure out how to make that work for your students. Be good. Yeah, no problem. I'm excited about that potential. I think that'll be really good. Okay, sounds good, Leanne. Thank you both for joining, and I'll be in your building on Thursday if you want to pop up into that little room and see me. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have, or I can come visit you. I hope you have a great rest of your week.